Martin Popoff from the Contrarians back again with another chapter in our ongoing series here, Who Invented Heavy Metal? We are looking at Led Zeppelin 2 today. So we are still in the 60s. This is late 1969. This is not going to be a review of Led Zeppelin 2. It's going to be very specifically how this album relates to the invention of heavy metal. So we are looking at October 22nd, 1969. Now, you know, we're leading with these in chronological order. We're leading up to Black Sabbath, and we're gonna move beyond that as well. So that is 1970. So this is one of our very last ones of the 60s. Maybe it is our last one of the 60s. But so Led Zeppelin 2. So yeah, this whole series is based on this book I did quite a few years ago, Who Invented Heavy Metal. It's 120,000 words that ends in 1971. We might go beyond 71 with this series, but yeah, we've got that. And there's my copy framed up of Led Zeppelin 2, where, you know, I've got some signatures in there. There's no John Bonham. And then, of course, still available are, I'm very proud of this one, Led Zeppelin, all the albums, all the songs, where I review every single Led Zeppelin song. And more recently, Led Zeppelin, a visual biography. So you can get those at martinpopoff.com. So Led Zeppelin 2, how does this relate? This album was recorded at various studios all over, like the UK and the US, in bits and pieces while they're touring and stuff. It's the first one with Eddie Kramer engineering on it as well. This album is 12 times platinum in America, so it's an absolutely huge record. So yeah, so how does it relate? You know, compared to Led Zeppelin 1, you could almost say that there's a lot of little songs that you can compare between Led Zeppelin 1 and Led Zeppelin 2, to the effect that, and this happens with a lot of bands, but loosely speaking, you could almost say Led Zeppelin 1 is the demo versions of what you get on Led Zeppelin 2 in a way, right? They've just evolved somewhat, but they are very much still in the same frame of mind, really, here. And that frame of mind is still a transformation, a making exciting of the British blues boom. That's kind of what's going on. That's the raison d'etre of Led Zeppelin at this stage, across these first two albums. They're leading this idea that, you know, you also get in America eventually with the likes of Mountain and Cactus. And I don't feel it's really in there with too many of the other American bands, but, you know, Bad Company eventually is a version of this. Free already is kind of a version of this as well. But Led Zeppelin is, they're getting super famous super fast, and they deserve it because they're super talented. So what happens with this record? So it kicks off with Whole Lotta Love, and this is a super important song in the invention of heavy metal. That riff, so we are really moving away from the blues here, even though this is very much based on an old blues song. And what you're going to get throughout this album is Robert Plant sings very bluesy. And there's actually still quite a bit of British blues boomy kind of things on here. But this song is not particularly a blues. And I think what really sets it apart is that machine gun kind of palm muted, very cool riff, repetitive. This is your growth past communication breakdown, so to speak, right? So this is definitely a modern heavy metal song. It's a very important song in the invention of heavy metal. We've talked about, you know, Purple Haze and a couple of Kinks songs, and we've talked about Helter Skelter, and we've already gone through a bunch of albums that have heavy metal songs. But I almost feel that that before we get to Black Sabbath, so still in the 60s, this might be the very best heavy metal riff that we've got coming along. So yes, they are. Led Zeppelin is definitely part of this story. What is and what should never be is a light song, but it's got the heavy chorus, and again, not particularly a blues song or a blues dynamic. You know, and we must say also that with Jimmy, you definitely get a very heavy caranging guitar sound here with some hair on it, kind of thing. So, and again, in this song, you get heavy enough singing as well. So, you know, Robert Plant, obviously, we've talked about him as the quintessential prototype for the heavy metal frontman, but his singing is definitely that way on this album. So he does a type of singing that you could say is a form of extreme singing that has connections to heavy metal, but you could also say that he has a lot of bluesy singing on this album. And he actually is a big part of making a lot of these songs that might be moving away from the blues still sound like blues songs, right? The Lemon song is definitely heavy blues, and this has that whole sort of pedigree from your How Many More Times and your Dazed and Confused and stuff like that, right? It's almost like a lethargic, doomy version of a Hendrix or a Cream song, right? So it's very dated, and this is the other reason why I and most people want to give Black Sabbath all the accolades for the true invention of heavy metal, because Led Zeppelin is not sounding particularly modern at this point on most of this album. They are sounding very modern on the riff of Whole Lotta Love and a song that's going to come up. But songs like the Lemon song, I mean, we are not much moved on from Led Zeppelin 1 here, and we are not even much moved on from Jeff Beck Truth at this point, right? Thank You is a mellow song on here. It has nothing to do with the invention of heavy metal, but guess what? It's literally the only song on the entire album that you can't call hard rock in some way. So this album is pretty much start to finish, other than Thank You. It deserves it for the intentionality of how loud it is, right? Like I say, not particularly modern, a lot of heavy transforming of the blues, or in that space between the blues and heavy metal, and just a tiny, tiny bit of proper modern heavy metal. But accolades to Zeppelin. They are really sort of staking their claim in this hard rock space here. So moving to side 2 of the original vinyl, you've got Heartbreaker. And this is less of a blues. This is less of a blues than the Lemon song. So you are moving ahead. You've got a riff going on. You've got those extra chords in it. The verse is almost like the verse really reminds me of something that could have been on Black Sabbath. So it's a very dated sounding, not particularly great or particularly creative version of Black Sabbath from the first album, halfway into Paranoid. But that's about it. But again, it's got a lot of things about it that are taking it away from the British blues boom. Now, Living Loving Maid, absolutely. This is a total modern heavy metal song. It's the most modern thing on it. Not really particularly bluesy. It's got a little bit of that call and response between the vocal and the very good, tidy modern riff that Jimmy gives us there. Funny on this one though, this is one where the guitars are cleaner than much of the rest of it, but in terms of the construction of it, this is like a proto hair metal song all the way back to 1969. It is a proper heavy rock song, heavy metal song. Ramble On, you've got the heavy chorus in here, but again, not particularly a blues. This almost feels a little bit more like if you were going to take the British folk boom and turn something from that into a hard rock song, you would get Ramble On. Moby Dick, we've got the big John Bonham drum solo in the middle, but this is a heavy blues, but again, closer to metal. So the theme here throughout this album, so much of this album is really sitting in that space, and deliberately so, over and over and over again, between the British blues boom and the invention of heavy metal, right? But then, yeah, you've got, another thing that Zeppelin does that is a heavy metal trademark is, and you can really hear it on Moby Dick, is when you've got a bass player playing in lockstep unison with the rhythm guitar part. And that's not John Paul Jones as a characteristic. He is one of the great bass players of all time with beautiful lines. But you get to hear the unison idea here, and that's a very heavy metal idea. And then we finally close with Bring It On Home, which is a total blues to begin with. It's very slow and quiet and made to sound antique-y. You got the harmonica in there. It's very murky. But then it turns into a total rocker, partly a blues again in the vocal, but other than the vocal, which again, Robert has so much of the blues language in his vocals on here, which is anchoring it back to the past, like moving it back 18 months kind of thing, right? But other than that, it's a straight riff rocker, and people kind of forget this one. I mean, the ones that really deserve the credit are Whole Lotta Love and Living Loving Maid, but there's a lot on this as well. So yeah, this entire side, you know, other than being you know, having the quiet bits and ramble on this and the intro to bring it on home, this entire side is a hard rocking sort of side. So yeah, this is really an important album, as was Led Zeppelin 1. In this idea of the invention of heavy metal. And again, we've got the Who-like configuration of the band. We've got 4 long hairs. One is just with a microphone. We got a guitarist, a bassist, and a drummer. So that's a very heavy metal, no nonsense lineup. We got no keyboards in this band, right? Kind of thing. So, well, at least, you know, you know what I mean. We got a fair bit of keyboards throughout the whole catalog, but there's no designated keyboardist in this band, so they are definitely heavy metal things. So there you go. That is our treatise on Led Zeppelin 2 and where this fits in the whole invention of heavy metal thing. Please like and subscribe if you like this whole thing. You can join our Patreon, that gets you onto our panels and stuff. But there you go, Led Zeppelin 2.